Week 5, Lesson 1, Describing Project Data Clearly. This week, we will be using the same case study to help us apply English to a realistic project. The project in the video is fictional and was designed for educational purposes only.
In 2024, Initius Development implemented a water infrastructure rehabilitation project in 3 drought-affected communities in the Seoul region. Before the project began, 2 boreholes were partially damaged, water pumps were unreliable, and storage capacity was limited. As a result, households collected water only 2 to 3 days per week, and often waited 2 to 3 hours at water points. To address these challenges, the organization repaired 3 boreholes, replaced damaged pumps, installed 2 elevated 10,000-liter storage tanks, and extended 1.8 kilometers of pipeline. In addition, 8 new communal water points were constructed closer to residential areas. Local water committees were formed and trained to manage maintenance and fee collection. Because the pumping systems were restored, water became available every day instead of only a few times per week. Household water collection time decreased from an average of 2 to 3 hours to less than 30 minutes. As storage capacity increased, water pressure improved and distribution became more consistent. The number of households relying on unsafe water sources declined significantly compared to the previous year. Overall, approximately 4,800 people gained improved access to safe and reliable water. Community leaders reported fewer conflicts at water points and greater satisfaction with water access compared to the period before rehabilitation. The project demonstrates that targeted infrastructure repair can lead to measurable improvements in water access, time savings, and community stability.
Lesson Objectives. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to describe project data and trends clearly, use vocabulary for increases and decreases, use cause and result language accurately, explain why changes happen, and speak clearly about project results. Discuss the following with a partner or another student. Why is it important to evaluate projects clearly? What happens if we only describe results but do not explain causes? Why must reports include both success and remaining challenges? Key vocabulary. Let's learn some words for upward movement or increases. Increase. You could also say rise, grow, improve, go up. Go up is more colloquial. All of these mean increase. For example, water access increased significantly after rehabilitation. Now, let's learn some vocabulary for downward movement or decrease. We have decrease, but you could also say drop, fall, decline, or go down. Go down is more colloquial. For example, collection time decreased sharply. Now, let's learn some words for describing degree. Degree is another word for amount. So these are words to show the amount something changed. Slightly, that means not very much. Gradually, that means a slow change. Significantly means a large change. Sharply means a quick change. And steadily means a slow but stable change. For example, water access improved significantly. Significantly. So that means it changed a large amount. So let's practice using some of these words to describe what happened in our case study. The focus in this paragraph is on the vocabulary. So, before the project, water was available only 2 to 3 days per week. After rehabilitation, access increased significantly. So we have increased, went up significantly. It went up, access went up by a large amount. So after rehabilitation, access increased significantly to daily availability. So that means you started with 2 to 3 days per week, and then you ended with daily availability. So that means the changes from water only 2 or 3 days of 7 days to water every day. Now, let's continue. Collection time decreased sharply from several hours to less than 30 minutes. So that means it went down quickly and significantly. So sharply means a change that's significant and fast. And in this case, it decreased significantly and quickly. Collection time decreased sharply. Conflicts declined gradually. So that means conflicts went down. The conflicts went down, but they went down slowly. So gradually means a slow change. And because we say declined, that means conflicts went down or decreased slowly. Conflicts declined gradually. Overall, community access improved. So the access went up, it got better, it improved. Overall, community access improved compared to the period before rehabilitation. So now let's focus on using words together. Collocations are words that are used together. So the last activity and the last slides were about individual vocabulary words. Let's look at some collocations or words that are used together in English. Improve access, increase capacity, reduce waiting time, restore functionality, address challenges, meet demand, experience pressure, require expansion. So, most native English speakers, especially in technical fields, are used to hearing these words together. So, if you use collocations correctly, you will sound more natural because native English speakers are used to hearing these words, especially if they work in the wash field or the wash sector. For example, the project restored functionality to the pumping system. The project restored functionality to the pumping system. Now let's move on to some phrasal verbs. Phrasal verbs are like collocations in the sense that they have more than one word, but phrasal verbs are verbs that mean something different when used with another word like a preposition. So let's see some examples. Carry out. So the words carry and out mean different things if you use them individually, but to carry out together, carry out means to do something. So carrying something is different than carrying something out. Carrying something means you have something in your hands or you're holding a physical thing. Carry out means to do something. So it's a very useful phrasal verb. Set up. Set up. So you set up a system. It could also mean prepare. So set up means to make something ready or prepare something. So set up a system means make a system ready or prepare a system. Or you could also set up a committee. Scale up. So scale up, usually like operations are scaled up. Scale up means to increase or grow. So if you have a program and you scale it up, you grow it. follow up. So follow up on maintenance. Follow up means to check on something, to verify. So if something is in a report, you can follow up and verify the status, or follow up can also mean go back and check on something. You go back and see how it's doing. So if you follow up on a project, you could go back to verify it, or you could just be going back to get an update. So let's see this in an example. The organization carried out repairs in 3 communities. Phrasal verbs are really important because if you don't understand what words mean when they're used together, you will misunderstand the meaning. If you can use them effectively, it will make you sound like a native English speaker. In English, it's not enough to just know advanced words, or even to know advanced words, advanced vocabulary, collocations, and phrasal verbs. You also have to connect your ideas well to make strong sentences. So, as a result is a good connector. So that can connect ideas in a paragraph or in a sentence. So connectors can help connect sentences to other parts of a paragraph, or it can connect 2 clauses to each other in a sentence. Water pumps were repaired. As a result, water became available daily. So that connects these 2 ideas. So water pumps were repaired. As a result, water became available daily. As a result connects those 2 ideas. However, access improved significantly. However, demand continued to grow. So, access improved significantly. That's good. But then, however, shows contrast. Demand continued to grow. So that means we solved the problem now, but the problem could come back. That's contrast because demand continued to grow. So it seems like the problem will have to be addressed again in the future. This led to storage capacity increased. This led to more consistent distribution. So this is another cause and effect. Storage capacity increased is the cause. The effect was more consistent distribution. This led to connects these 2 ideas very well. In contrast, this is like, however, it shows contrast. Access was limited before the project. In contrast, daily access became possible after rehabilitation. So, access was limited before the project, and then daily access became possible after rehabilitation. So the contrast is between limited access and daily access. So we can say in contrast to show that there is a contrast between these ideas. And finally, this suggests that water pressure dropped during peak hours. This suggests that additional capacity may be required. So this suggests that is when you're making a prediction or a guess, but often a prediction because this suggests points to evidence. So, what's your prediction? Additional capacity may be required. What's your evidence? Water pressure dropped during peak hours. So, you make a prediction based on evidence, or this observation allows you to make the prediction that additional capacity may be required. So, in order to use connectors, we have to know the situation before rehabilitation and after. So, before rehabilitation, water was available only 2 to 3 days per week. Collection time, the time it took to get water for the beneficiaries, was 2 to 3 hours before rehabilitation. Storage capacity was limited. Conflicts were frequent. And then after rehabilitation, so there's a change after the project, water was available daily. Collection time was under 30 minutes. Storage capacity increased. So, one more thing, conflicts decreased. So we use the connectors to get from before to after. So, to practice connecting ideas, especially within a sentence, we have to use only one logical step per sentence. So sometimes people use a lot of advanced vocabulary and even connectors, collocations, phrasal verbs, but there are too many ideas in one sentence. So let's practice building one sentence, one logical sentence, one idea at a time. So in each sentence, we will write only one cause and one result. It is possible to make more complicated sentences, but it's also easier to misuse language and confuse the reader. So right now, we'll focus on one cause and one result. Water pumps were repaired, so water became available daily. You have the cause and the result. Water access improved. So that's what happened. That's the result. We have the result bolded and the cause is underlined. So water access improved. Why? Because the boreholes were rehabilitated. So with because, you say the result first, and then what caused it. The cause comes after because. When you see because, you're answering the question why. The boreholes were rehabilitated is the reason why water access improved. Now we have an if-then statement. If storage capacity increases, then distribution becomes more consistent. So this is a hypothetical. If this thing happens, if thing number 1 happens, then thing number 2 will also happen. If storage capacity increases, then distribution becomes more consistent. So, for practice, I want you to write one sentence explaining how water access increased. So, you have the cause, one thing happened, and then water access increased. So, you need to connect these two. This happened, so water access increased. So, write one logical sentence with one cause, with the effect of water access increasing. Collection time decreased. So, what caused collection time to decrease? Write a sentence explaining the cause of collection time decreasing using one of the connectors from the previous slide. And finally, conflicts declined. So, we need to know what caused the conflicts to decline, and we need to use a connector to connect those ideas. So for each of these, write one sentence using because, one sentence using so, and then the third sentence you can choose because or so. But you need to use because once at least or so once at least. And remember, when you use so, the result is after. When you use because, the result is before, and the cause is after. Now, let's move on to some speaking practice. Answer the following questions. In your opinion, what improved most in this project? Why did it improve? And what challenge might remain? So we have two things that improved at least in the project, but you can choose. So what, in your opinion, what improved the most? So even though this is subjective, it's your opinion, I would like some evidence as to why that's the thing that improved the most. used increased or decreased. So we have to describe if something is increasing or decreasing. Use the word because, and use the word so. And if you really want to, you can use however. This one is optional. Our focus is to learn these three, but if you're feeling confident, we can use however. So these first four give you this sentence. But the reason we have step 5, let's get another color. The reason we have step 5 is because we don't want to add anything else to this sentence. If your sentence is clear and logical, you don't want to keep adding things. If you keep adding things, your sentence does not look controlled. It looks like you don't have control of English. So if there's any extra information you would like to add, that can go in the next sentence. So today we learned how to describe increases and decreases. We learned some vocabulary. And we learned how to explain cause and effect clearly. And we learned how to prepare for a structured project evaluation that makes things more clear. So we learned the words, including the collocations and phrasal verbs, the vocabulary necessary, and the sentence connectors to make the ideas structured. Structuring your project evaluation is important because it makes it easier to understand and therefore more valuable. So next lesson, we will learn how to create a full project evaluation paragraph using something called the chain structure, which we will get into tomorrow. So before you can think about the paragraph, we have to practice. You must be able to make clear, structured sentences, and at the same time use vocabulary. So we can't jump to the paragraph now. We have to make sure we can use vocabulary and connectors to make very structured, clear sentences. Next class, we will put those sentences into a clear project evaluation paragraph. That's it for today. We'll see you in the next class.